probably turned my mic on. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to FBC Radio Live. We are back. It's Thursday. We are just a few days removed from Super Bowl 55, and the celebration continues down here in Tampa as the Buccaneers. Yes, that's right. If you were sleeping the last week or so, the Buccaneers did, in fact, beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and quite thoroughly, actually. And yesterday was the celebratory boat parade, which, again, if you're a Patriots fan, there's a lot of things that are a little bittersweet about this whole scenario. I mean, I, for one, got over my hang-ups long ago. There's plenty of people out there that, you know, are still upset about the whole situation. I'm not. I'm happy for him. I'm thrilled. I was happy watching him. But the celebration does sting a little bit because it wasn't in Boston. Although it did look like they were having one hell of a time yesterday out there on the boats. And let me tell you, it was a beautiful day yesterday. Let me just throw that out there. So it looked as fun as it probably was. Speaking of fun, I can't have fun on the show without my co-host. So let's bring him in here, Mr. Mike Debate. Mike, what's up, buddy? How's that snow treating you?
Yeah, the temperature today, the snow outside today definitely doesn't make it as fun up here as it is in Tampa. And for everyone trying to push the narrative that Tom's saying that this parade was a little more fun than the duck boat parade, come on. I mean, look at the weather. Look at what you're doing. You're on a boat. I mean, really, I would say the same thing, too. He wasn't taking shots at Patriots fans. Idiocy all over the place. And people being self-righteous about, I guess, the way he was celebrating yesterday. Tom was having a lot of fun on those on those boats yesterday without any question. It was his own boat. Most Tom Brady thing ever, though. He took his own boat to a parade. I mean, really, it was. I mean, that is. I mean, when you're the GOAT, you're the GOAT. Mm-hmm. That's what makes him the GOAT.
Well,
I mean, you know.
And
goat on a boat.
Yeah, goat on a boat. Yeah, that's right.
You've heard of Elf on a Shelf? We got a goat on a boat. There we go.
I tweeted that yesterday, and although I know that it's probably a pretty common saying, I will say that that was used in one of the Tampa headline stories yesterday. I did see that same phrase. I'm not going to say they took it from me, but it's possible.
Hey,
it's possible.
We coined that. I think we may have coined that. I think you may have coined that back when they had the goat on a duck boat.
Yeah, goat on the boat.
And
man.
we
goat
saw. Yep, you've heard of an elf on a shelf. Here's a goat on a boat. And it's good for them. Good for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is a franchise that missed the playoffs last year, 7-9. If not for the presence of Tom Brady, they would not be Super Bowl champions. And I think they all realize that. I think they all know that. This is a very talented team, up and down, no question about it. I'm certainly not knocking the rest of the team and saying that Tom single-handedly carried them to a championship. You need a team effort. Nobody is ever questioning that, folks. But the presence of a guy like Tom Brady, just what he brings to the table, and we've talked about this so many times, the attitude, the willingness to put in the time, the example that he sets each and every day. Having a chance to have talked to so many former New England Patriots and players that have played with Tom Brady, been in the same locker room, just watching the preparation, elevated their game each and every day. And some have even admitted that when they've moved on from New England, they didn't quite have that same drive that they had here in New England, because Brady wasn't setting that example every single day. He sets it, he lives it, he breathes it, and that's exactly what happened. Don't let the drunken exploits fool you yesterday, folks. This guy takes everything he does seriously, and he'll be back at it next year. He's back in the weight room today. He's training, maybe with a little bit of a headache, but other than that, I think he's no worse for the wear. He'll be just fine.
That avocado tequila, as he said. No, look, I enjoy. Look, there's a lot of things I enjoy about this. Obviously, like I've said before, in a perfect world, he'd be doing this with the Patriots, and we'd be doing. But look, I'm not that hung up on it. Like I said yesterday, and this may be a hot take. I believe both he and Belichick have moved on, and they've been moved on. I don't think there's this angst or competitiveness outside of a normal. Look, every great athlete, every great coach is naturally competitive. I mean, that's there's no question about that. And I think you always want to compete. But, look, I've spent time, and I know this isn't quite the same, but I've spent time at a job for several years, 6 years at this job. I not this in particular, but when I was younger. I loved my boss. But we disagreed on a lot of different things. There was many a times when he and I were out back. This is a pizza joint too, by the way. This is when I was in college. We were out back. This is the owner of the store, and we just disagreed fundamentally on things, and we would argue. At the end of the day, though, I eventually had to leave. I couldn't work there anymore for a lot of reasons. The least of which was, I didn't hate my boss, but I needed to get away. We're friends to this day, and there was never this animosity. It wasn't like I was ever out to screw him over. And I know, again, this isn't apples to apples. This is kind of apples to, like, cheap candy, because that's what I was doing. I'm not a professional football player making millions of dollars, This is, $5 an hour plus tips at the time. But the point is, I don't think that both of these guys, like the media has portrayed, left this relationship absolutely hating each other, like basically poking a voodoo doll of one another, as they're walking out the door. I don't believe that. I think this narrative about better than Belichick better than Brady trying to prove this, Belichick trying to prove that, it's all media driven. It's all media driven. I don't think Belichick cares. I don't think Brady cares. I think they have a massive amount of respect for one another. I think they care and like each other. I mean, you work together for 20 years. You have all this success together. I don't think there's any player. And look, Tom said it. There's no coach that would have ever gotten the most out of him like Belichick, and he appreciates that. But unfortunately, those aren't the things we're focused on. We're focused on is he trying to do this to prove Belichick wrong, or is Belichick trying to stick it to Tom Brady? Blah 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 blah. I don't care. What I saw yesterday was, something maybe a little unique to Tom, because think about it. Like, each and every year that he won a Super Bowl with the Patriots, of course, there were new players that had never won before. There's always going to be new players. Every team every year changes so much. There's bound to be that. But the bulk of that team for so many years, really since 2014, they were just all Super Bowl champions. And I think you saw yesterday, Tom, there's a couple. Obviously, Gronk, JPP had won a Super Bowl before, Shaq Barrett with the Denver Broncos. But for the most part, that was a team full of guys that haven't even sniffed any sort of playoff success. Mike Evans, for example, 7 years in the league, not a single playoff appearance until this season. Other guys, Levante David, these guys that, could only dream of going to the Super Bowl, all of a sudden just won a Super Bowl. And you have Tom up there acting like, look, anyone who's seen that photo of him being carried out, there's not a person. I would say there were very few people that cannot relate to both of those positions. Not only one being Tom and two being the guy carrying Tom. Like, everyone's been there. I mean, how many times, there's always been a situation where you got your friend by the shoulder. You're like, all right, come on, Mike, this way, buddy. Let's go. Yep. No, we're going to get hot cheese up front. Yeah, don't worry. We're going to Antonio's, man. We're going to get that pizza. Don't worry. They're not closed. It's 3:30 in the morning, but they're not closed, buddy. Don't worry. Trust me. It'll be waiting for you.
Oh, we've been there. We've been there. Yeah, exactly. I mean, drunken exploits, running from the club to your car singing, I want to be an Air Force Ranger. We've done it all, folks. I guarantee it.
Whoa,
I just let in a little too much information there. But in any case, we have all been there. And I love the self-righteous Twitter police right now that are getting on Tom for public intoxication. Look, I would really love to see videos of these moral beacons of light that really want to clean the world. I would love to see videos of them on a Friday and Saturday night in their clubbing heydays, or maybe, who knows, maybe currently. It really is. It's disingenuous. Tom was having fun yesterday. And look, I don't think there's any denying this was an emotional win for Tom Brady. I don't think it's a situation where he's looking and saying, oh, I could finally get drunk on a boat now. Yeah, F you, Bill. No, he's not doing that, and neither was Gronk. Bottom line was, these guys are celebrating. It's a different situation, and Tom is not stupid. He hears the chatter. I don't think it's sticking it to Bill. I think he's taking all of this, just like he did when he was drafted number 199, and he continues to harbor that. He's taking all of this talk. If you don't think he hears guys, like below and fall off a cliff and Brady is ranked 10th in the league at this, and passer rating is bad, and if he only had this defense, and you don't think he hears all that? Brady hears all that. You know what he's doing? He takes them all up, mixes them up in a cocktail shaker, and strains them into the glass, and then he comes away. Exactly. He comes away with the Lombardi Trophy. You mix all that up and makes a mean martini. And yesterday, what you were doing, as you saw Tom Brady enjoying what he was able to do this season, an emotional win, capping an emotional season, his first away from New England in his professional career. Yeah, he's going to enjoy it, and that's exactly what he did. I didn't see anything wrong with what he did in terms of celebrating yesterday.
How much anxiety did you get watching him toss the Lombardi Trophy from boat to boat?
I'm very, there was definitely a moment where I thought it could have gotten dented, and there's definitely a moment that would have been blamed on Gronkowski for that. Yeah. There's no question about it. When in doubt, just blame Gronk.
Well, no, here's the thing. I mean, the video that came out tossing, let me just try to, not only were the boats moving, mind you, you don't have your legs under you, and you're trying to toss a... Well, again, I don't know about the weight balance in this thing. I would imagine it's somewhat balanced, even though with the football on the top of the trophy, there's got to be some balance to it, or it would just tip over. Correct? So, but the awkward shape of the trophy, could have caused a lot of problems. And what a throw!
It's not.
How many times have we seen?
It's not conducive to a clean two-hand catch. Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, and look, I mean, you could, again, anyone who's ever been in that sort of drunken phase, you could tell just the reaction, the look on his face. Like I said, we've all been there. We've all been there to the point where we're like, we don't care what's going to happen. We're going to try this. And guess what? It was an incredible pass. It was a great catch by Cameron Brate. I actually thought it was Gronk at first. It was hard to tell, but it actually turned out to be Cameron Brate. And, yeah, I mean, look, for the folks down here in Tampa, for us who have experienced it so many times in the past, not just with the Patriots, but with other teams, we've experienced the parade, the celebration so much. It was special down here. It really was. And what a great day for it. You know what I've learned, though, throughout these last several days? And from the Bucs players and just kind of watching things in hindsight, this team knew they were going to win. I don't think there was a and I know every team goes into it saying, "Oh yeah, we're going to win." Yeah, of course you are. You got to believe that. But I think these guys knew they were going to win, and we're starting to hear some of it where like and we heard Tom say pretty much those exact words in his speech when he was getting the MVP trophy immediately after the game. We knew we were going to do this. And since then, we've kind of learned a little bit more. We've learned about the text that he sent every single night. We're going to win. We've heard about these defensive players saying, yeah, we saw how fast they were the first time. We knew what they were going to do. We knew the answers to the test. And I know that's going to rub some people the wrong way when it comes to Tom Brady. And they're they knew what they were going to do. No, they knew what they were going to do because Kansas City became very one-dimensional. It was a very simple way to stop them. And Buccaneers had the personnel to do it. They put pressure on the quarterback. They forced Patrick Mahomes to throw into tight coverage. They forced him to go through his progressions. And guess what? What's something that I've been saying, a criticism of him this entire time? He's not developed enough to do that efficiently. He has trouble going through his progressions. He has trouble making accurate passes. And save me, and again, this is something that's starting to bug me, though. Save me the, oh my God, did you see the pass he made horizontal? No, I don't care. It was incomplete. First of all, it was incomplete. Second of all, it went right through a defender's hand, so it should have been intercepted. So don't sit there and celebrate an incomplete pass. I don't care about that. I didn't think they were actually going to go to this extent, but it's almost like that play, that pass from Patrick Mahomes negated every poor part of the game prior to that. And that's all anyone's talking about. Poor Patrick Mahomes. He was struggling through an injury. Oh my God, he was running all over the place. Guess what? Yeah, the offensive line wasn't great. No one's sitting there saying that he had a great offensive line in front of him, but he was he was a issue and part of the reason why it was such a mess back there. Because guess what? if you can't stand in and make the right reads, you're just going to run around. And the Bucs defense is too fast for him to just go play backyard football. And that's the problem. Everyone's like, oh my God, Patrick Mahomes this, Pat. No, you cannot achieve success in this league by consistently playing backyard football. And the Chiefs ran into a team that not only was very talented, but they got a taste of what the Chiefs could do earlier in the season.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
Since then, the Chiefs never took them seriously. And you can't convince me otherwise, because they didn't decide to change a damn thing about what they were going to do. Not only before the game, but in the game as well. And the Bucs just continued to beat it up. And you know what? They remembered every little slight and remark the Chiefs made. Every little one of them. So for anyone out there that ever asks you, do you think these players notice these other? Yeah, of course they do. Not only, I mean, we've already talked about the peace sign from Antoine Winfield, and I forgot about this too. But there's a clip of, I believe it was Devin White or Levante David on the sidelines, picking up the phone, saying like, "Hey, we beat their rear ends. We got their help." Well, guess what? If you all remember, Tyreek Hill on the sidelines during that Week 12 game, sitting there saying, "Hey, they need help. I'm doing a Shannon Sharp." Funny, ironically, mocking Shannon Sharp in the same sense the Bucs did. So they remembered all this, and the Chiefs were cocky. They were arrogant, and they basically went into this game with the mentality that we are so much more talented than everyone else that we can do whatever we wanted. And they ran into a great defense.
Yep.
Some really great players, and a better quarterback. Yes, folks, a better quarterback. Because if it's not obvious by now, it should be. Tom Brady's still the best quarterback in the league. And it's not about running. It's not about, throwing incomplete passes or whatever. It's about just consistently making the right decisions. Consistently being in the right position. Like everyone's, this is the new thing today, and I don't even know if we're going to have time to get into it. We might, though. Shannon Sharp, would have Aaron Rodgers won this Super Bowl with the Bucs? No, he wouldn't have. Don't give me this, the Bucs had this great defense. Yeah, they had a great defense. The Packers did too. The Packers, I love this. I love this mentality. The Packers were good enough to go 13-3. They were good enough to get the number 1 seed. They were good enough to look like the best team in the NFC from start to finish until the NFC Championship game. Then all of a sudden, Aaron Rodgers doesn't have help. And all of a sudden, if he would have had the Bucs team, he wouldn't have. He wouldn't have. Because the Bucs defense was good in that game. The Green Bay Packers defense got him 3 turnovers, and he failed. I know it sounds harsh, but you know what? I'm tired of the excuses. I'm tired of hearing about Aaron Rodgers being able to win on every team but the team he's actually on. Someone pointed this out to me yesterday, and I'm getting worked up here because now I'm getting upset. George is getting upset, Mike. Someone pointed this out to me yesterday, and someone tweeted this, and it's the most incredible, poignant statement I've ever heard. The best part about Aaron Rodgers' career is a hypothetical in which he is Tom Brady. And I sat there and I was like, yeah, because all we've heard for for years, if Aaron Rodgers had Bill Belichick, if Aaron Rodgers was in Tom Brady's situation, if Aaron Rodgers this, if Aaron Rodgers that, well, guess what? He had a top 10 defense. He has a big-time wide receiver, and he failed again. So save me with that. If Aaron Rodgers was in there, no, they wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. Because it's not about just that one game. Do I think that they would have rallied around him the same way they did Tom Brady? Absolutely not. That's not to say Aaron Rodgers isn't a great leader. They would have probably had a really fine season, no doubt. But when push comes to shove, if that Bucs team got all these turnovers for Tom Brady, I'll sit here and say Aaron Rodgers doesn't convert on nearly half of those. And that was a theme throughout those 2 games that they played against each other and, throughout the course of his career. Sometimes you just don't. You're incapable of delivering, and you know what? I'm starting to feel that way with Aaron Rodgers because I wanted to be good. I wanted to kind of give him some benefit of the doubt, and in hindsight, he probably played the best game out of all those quarterbacks against, Taylor Heineke, notwithstanding, he probably played the best game out of those 3 former MVPs against the Bucs defense, but it still wasn't good enough. And nothing that he did in that game convinces me that had the roles been reversed, he would have easily brought this team to a championship. So,
no, I mean, I get it. In light of your elevating blood pressure by the minute, I'll take the reins here for just a minute and give you a chance to collect yourself. No, all kidding aside, I agree with you. I mean, the hypotheticals are what sports talk is based on. So you're going to continue to get those arguments. Everybody's going to go, what if this happened? Well, what if Tom Brady was on this team? Would he have been able to do it? What if Rodgers had this defense? What if Mahomes had an offensive line? The what if game is going to continue to be played. Unfortunately, there's nothing that we can do about it. I agree with you. It's tired. It's lazy. It just really kind of melds into what this whole genre has become. But ultimately, when you look at what these two quarterbacks did on the field on Sunday, take Sunday in a vacuum, you're absolutely right. Mahomes did not have the offensive line behind him that he needed to succeed. There's no question about it, and nobody's arguing that. But to not put some of that on his shoulders and not allow himself the opportunity to be able to play through a lot of what Tampa Bay did. This is not rocket science. You and I pinpointed this on Friday on Locked On Patriots here on FPC Radio Live in the morning. The way to be able to get after Patrick Mahomes and the way to be able to disrupt his methods is to put one of your cover corners on a secondary receiver, which is exactly what Tampa Bay did. Blanket the field, playing 2 safeties. You play cover 2 when you're in zone. You play the man match when you're playing one-on-one, and it allows the deep safeties to stay back and to blanket the field. Doubling Tyreek Hill, doubling Travis Kelce, taking the weapons away. That's exactly how you do it. You use a 3-man rush, or maybe no more than 4, and that allows your defensive weapons, your defensive front, and Tampa Bay has a tremendous defensive front. They're probably the best equipped team in the league to be able to work this system. You put pressure. That's how you're able to contain him. If we're able to figure it out, Eric Bieniemy, Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, they have to be able to devise ways to be able to neutralize that. I didn't see that on Sunday, and that has to go on coaching. That has to go on the quarterback. And yes, it does have to go on the offensive line for not providing protection. But it's a tired excuse to think that you can just use that excuse and just say, oh, it's all because of the offensive line. He had better blocking. He throws for 500 yards, breaks every record, does everything that he needs to do, and he's the Super Bowl champion and the Super Bowl MVP. Doesn't quite work that way. You have to adapt to scheme. There has never been a better quarterback in this league than Tom Brady at adapting to scheme, taking what you do well and making sure that you can't do that against him again. He is someone that's done that very well. And I don't want to hear the argument, oh, interior pressure, that's the key. Every team that's pressured him in the middle has been able to do that. Guess what? The Eagles tried to do that in Super Bowl 52. Tom shredded them for 500 yards passing. So don't tell me that's the only way to stop Tom Brady. He's adapted. He's adjusted his game to be able to withstand that. The great ones do that. They step up. Patrick Mahomes, we found maybe a crack in the foundation a little bit. Does he put in the work in the offseason to be able to neutralize what Tampa Bay did and find a way to be able to play through it? If he does it, hats off to him, and then he deserves all the credit for that in the world, because it's not an easy thing to do. But if he doesn't and he still relies on what he's doing, then you're going to start to see maybe a little bit of that shine come off of the armor, because the great ones have a way of adjusting. It's Patrick Mahomes' time to adjust. Can he do it? Can he be that type of chameleon quarterback that needs to go and adjust his game to become great? I think he has it in him, but we'll see. It's going to be an interesting offseason.
I mean, let's look at the reality of this. He's played 8 quarters in the Super Bowl. Now, again, I mean, just playing 2 Super Bowls is impressive enough, so I'm not trying to sit there and minimize that. But, a lot of this has to do with trying to compare him to Tom Brady and some of the greats. He's played 8 quarters in the Super Bowl, and I can argue that he's played maybe 1 good quarter. He has a Super Bowl problem, okay? And I know not too many people have brought it up yet, but he has not been good in the 2 Super Bowls. And if had it not been for some pretty poor play from Jimmy Garoppolo in the fourth quarter of last year's Super Bowl, you're talking about a guy that's, closer to Jim Kelly than he is someone who wins multiple Super Bowls, because, all of a sudden you've lost 2 in a row. Again, we're not playing this hypothetical game, though. I'm trying to put context into what we've seen over the last 2 years, and I know people are shocked, like, how can you slow down the Chiefs? Well, we've seen this before, just not for a full game. The Patriots have done it twice to him for a full half. And then eventually things kind of fell off, or decisions made, whatever. Chiefs always kind of tended to put up points quickly, but it was always putting up points quickly. Like, they would make big plays, and that's nice. But eventually you adjust to that. We saw this in 2007. The Patriots relied so much on Randy Moss, and over the course of that season, teams started to adjust. You started to see teams take away that over-the-top action, and there was so much focus and attention on trying to get him the ball, they disregarded a lot of the short game. But we knew Tom could do that. It was just they were so transfixed on the big play offense. I'm not convinced that this Kansas City offense, and in particular Patrick Mahomes, is going to make a career out of being short, middle, and deep efficiently, because I've said it's to exhaustion. I don't think he's incredibly accurate. Even on passes where he throws to a guy that's very wide open, the ball can be very behind or all over the place. And it's fine, because at the end of the day, it gets caught, and generally it's a big play because no one's around Tyreek Hill or whoever. But throughout the course of these games, it's like, okay, well, let me see him make a decision where he's throwing a pass into tight coverage on his third or fourth progression. Things we see Brady do all the time that he makes look so easy that people think it's just, oh, he's just throwing to a wide open guy. Nope, no big deal, whatever. No, like, there's a lot of great quarterbacking that goes into completing that pass once the snap is snapped. And I haven't seen that yet from Patrick Mahomes. And all we've seen from him is him playing on a team that's littered with a lot of offensive talent. So if he can't do it now, what's going to happen when? Because he's not always going to have this type of offensive team around him. Let's be honest here. They're not going to be able to have, this much of a talent advantage over most teams. Not the Bucs. I mean, I think the Bucs are pretty much on par on both sides of the ball when it comes to talent. But for the most part, you're not going to get that talent advantage. And guess what? Losing a game like this in the Super Bowl, you know what other teams are doing around the league? They're licking their chops right now, because all of a sudden, that shine is off. It's gone. Like this, oh my God, the Chiefs are unbeatable. That's gone. That's over. Finished. Done. Finished, Mike. Finished, Mike. I'm I'm stalling here because I'm trying to get it up.
Done.
There we go.
Finished.
Done. Finished. That shine is off. It's gone. That gleam, that, oh my God, this team is unbeatable. You can never, what is it? It's the red zone all over the field for the Chiefs. They're always in the red zone. Doesn't matter. Well, no, they're not. No, they're not. So, I don't know. We'll see. If you're a Chiefs fan, you got to be happy about the future. I mean, this isn't a situation where they're going to turn into Eagles. I don't know. But the assumption that they're just going to be back and they're just going to keep doing what they're doing is, I think that's a bit naive, because I do think you're going to see a lot more resistance from other teams against the Chiefs next year. There isn't this aura of invincibility, because, well, guess what? That got, not only did it get shot down, but the Bucs really just stomped on it. And we've seen them, again, like I said, going back to what I said when we first opened the show, they remembered everything. And I think that adds a little bit to the loss of the mystique.
Yeah, and I think in a lot of ways also what you're seeing is a validation of the sentiment that it's so difficult, so difficult to go back to back. It amazes me, and it amazed me right from the time that we saw this last year, just how easily people believe that this team was going to rattle off 3, 4, 5 championships in a row. In the NFL, it is extremely difficult to do that. It's tough to do in any sport, but some sports are a little bit more prone to it. And yeah, I'm talking about the NBA. If you stack a team, you're able to return, you get a difficult scheme to defend. throw in, rotate some role players that can help you do it is a little bit of an easier road. In the NFL, it is so difficult, nearly impossible at times, to think about repeating back to back and going back to back as Super Bowl champions. The Chiefs obviously are a team, I believe, that will be back in the mix to try to compete. I think this team is way too stacked with talent. They're too well coached top to bottom to fall off the face of the earth. I don't see that happening to them. But to just, like you said, assume that they're going to be right back in the saddle, right back in the Super Bowl next year, and that they're going to, ride off into the sunset without any type of resistance, to me is a very arrogant way of thinking. It's just not like that. We saw the New England Patriots do this up here for a number of years. And believe me when I tell you, you talk to players in that locker room and you absorb exactly how difficult it was, especially the back-to-back team, the last back-to-back team that won, having an opportunity to talk to Troy Brown and absorb what he had, with his information and his insight on that team. That was a very, very difficult thing to do. So we'll see what happens. But I think it also brings that into contrast as well and shows people how difficult that really is. It's not a foregone conclusion.
No, and again, I mean, unless you're Tom Brady, going to Super Bowls isn't easy. And I say that a little tongue in cheek, but I actually more so I think I'm serious when I say that. I mean, forget about what Tom Brady does. What does everyone else do? And you go back and you think about how many teams have gone back to back. Well, it's been about 4 in the last 25, 30 years. So it's not easy. We've seen multiple teams try, and again, if it weren't for Tom Brady, maybe there would be more back-to-back champions. But look, I think personally, I think this Bucs team is going to, at the very least, be back in the championship game, the NFC Championship game. Again, when it comes to getting to a Super Bowl, I'm going to probably pick the Bucs to go back because they do have Tom Brady. So everything I just said about the Chiefs, I don't apply to the Buccaneers because, again, there's one guy that this doesn't apply to, and it's Tom Brady. And it'll be interesting to see who will be back, whether it's the Packers in that role, maybe it's the Rams, maybe Matt Stafford takes them over the top. We'll see. But I do think that the Bucs have, if I'm going to sit here and say, prior to this season, or even now, I mean, who cares? If Tom Brady plays, 4 total seasons with the Buccaneers, over under 1.5 Super Bowls, I'm taking the over. Super Bowl win. I mean, it's just average, not just I mean, it's the odds. I mean, Tom Brady. I mean, look at his career. I tweeted it out all week leading up to this, and obviously after the game. But he hasn't gone 2 consecutive seasons without winning a Super Bowl since 2012 and 2013. That's absurd. Think about that. There hasn't been 2 seasons in a row where Tom Brady isn't at least winning a Super Bowl. And he's gone to 5 since then. And, the year prior, 2011, obviously, he was in the Super Bowl against the Giants. So it's just, I said it before, I'll say it again, Mr. Super Bowl. That's what he is. But we got about 10 minutes left here. But I do want to mention something that we didn't bring up yesterday. And I'm kind of upset that we didn't because, it was one of those instances where we just need to figure out how to know about these things ahead of time. Maybe we'll just spend a weekend going through all the important dates in history and writing them in a calendar so we know. But yesterday was the 18th anniversary of the death of one Mr. Perfect. Oh, man. Unfortunately, we usually play that in more happier remembrance. But, obviously, Mr. Perfect, Kurt Hennig, one of the many wrestlers that have died far too young. And surprising that it was 18 years ago. I know I always sit here and say, wow, I can't believe it was that long. But, it really was. And it's incredible to me that it's really been that long since, guys like him and Randy Savage and all that have been gone. So.
Yeah, it's tough to think about when you look at so many of the WWF/WWE wrestlers that we grew up, idolizing are no longer with us. You look at some of the old vintage WrestleManias, and it's you're more apt to find someone that is deceased than someone that is there. And it's not even close in a lot of cases. When you look at the card, WrestleMania 6, for example, I think somebody made the argument that there are so few people on that card or that commentated that WrestleMania that are still with us. And I don't mean to chuckle when I say this, but Kurt Hennig was one that hit me hard. I was always such a huge fan of his. I always thought that he was a tremendous athlete, played the role of the heel so well, and also played the role of a babyface so well too. I mean, he was someone that really could do anything in a wrestling ring, and you've heard so many wrestlers of that generation, such as guys like Bret Hart, Scott Hall, who have praised Kurt for being such a professional in, out of the ring, just a good family man, and one of those terrible tragedies that you stop and think about. So he's definitely missed. There's no question about it. You think about what Kurt might have done. Later, word has it that when he did pass away, that he was starting to train for a comeback to the ring. Maybe that was something that he wanted to do and go out on his own terms. You wish he could have done that. I think he could have been someone that would have stayed in the business, working around a lot of the young talent and really showing them the ropes, so to speak, and allowing them to be able to do some really interesting things. So it's hard to believe that it's been 18 years. That's really, really amazing to me. I still remember when it happened, and just some of the great moments that happened. I wish he could have had a WWE title run during his time. I think he would have been a good champion. But every time I think of that vintage Intercontinental belt, I know a lot of people think of other guys. I think of Kurt Hennig. I think of Mr. Perfect. I think he was one of the better Intercontinental champions of his time.
I love that old belt too. I really do. Yeah. That was one of my favorites. I go back and forth between the Winged Eagle WWF title belt and the one that succeeded that one, the big circle one, you have WrestleMania 17.
The Stone Cold, the Rock, the
the one that Triple H seemed to have on all the time, back in the day. But look, it's we've spent a lot of time talking about anniversaries of wrestlers' deaths on this show, and like you said, it go back to WrestleMania 6. It wasn't that long. I mean, 30 years. You would think that, maybe some people have passed because of old age, but there's far too many that have passed long, long before, we've gotten to this point. Again, maybe 15 years after the fact, or 20 years, and much sooner than they probably should have. But as we've said before, it's not surprising. You've told the Rowdy Piper story before about him expecting to not live past a certain age, and him pretty much nailing it right on the head. Hit the nail on the head, my friend, to steal a phrase from you. But I think these guys were very aware of this, certainly, as these instances happen more and more, and they were all very similar, whether it was some sort of heart attack or stroke or something, and it all goes back to the rampant steroid use and what they would do. And look, this isn't trying to make them out to be. This was just the nature of the business at the time. And if anyone knows about wrestling in the 80s and 90s, well, this was a very present debate and situation in the wrestling community. And it wasn't just steroids, but we talk about these guys that go through and wrestle every night, sometimes multiple times, traveling every single day. They're on the road for 300 plus days a year. They're using whatever to make them feel better, whether it's painkillers or uppers or whatnot. And after a while, this takes a toll. I mean, they weren't too dissimilar from rock stars. Let's put it this way. Especially back then, where there was more. Let's just say there was more mystery surrounding this business. I mean, again, now obviously I think everyone realizes that a lot of it's scripted and all that, and it takes a little bit of that luster away from it. But back then, these guys were larger than life, literally and figuratively, and to think that a lot of them passed away at such a young age. But that's what happens when you don't take care of your body in the way that you're supposed to, and it's not all their fault, because again, it was just the nature of the business. But just, it's sad. It's sad, unfortunately, but we do get to honor him as many times as possible by playing his music, and we will continue to do so. Tomorrow's Friday. I think what we're going to do, Mike, this is what we're going to do. We got a bunch of quarterbacks out there right now. A lot of teams looking for quarterbacks. I think we're going to have a little fun tomorrow. I think we're going to spin the wheel, so to speak. And we're going to tell you where all these quarterbacks are going to be playing next year. You think you can do that, Mike? You think you can look into the Magic 8 Ball and let us know exactly where these guys are going to be playing?
I think I can do that. I think I'll pull upon, like I say on Locked On Patriots, I'll pull upon my Belichickian crystal ball. I'll gaze into it, and I'll have some insight for you tomorrow. Sounds like a plan, buddy.
Good. And we will do that. We'll try to pinpoint everywhere all these quarterbacks will land potentially, and even we'll even dive into the not so guaranteed to move quarterbacks, but we'll still take a stab at that. So definitely tune in there tomorrow 9:00. We'll finish off the week pretty strong, maybe talk a little bit more Super Bowl, but we will talk quarterbacks, and then we'll start transitioning into a post NFL season run for the show, and that includes talking about basketball, talking about baseball, talking about hockey, and whatever the hell else crosses our mind, Mike. So give us a follow on Twitter. Why not, right? We have a lot of fun there. I tend to continue what I rant about on the show on Twitter. So give us a follow on Twitter. At IGLEN31 is mine. At FPC Radio Live is the show's Twitter account. And, of course, go to Full Press at Full Press Radio for anything podcasts and radio shows, including Dylan and Ross Save Sports, which will be live later today at 5. And, finally, go follow my friend Mike at MDABATEFPC. It's pretty easy. Follow him, learn something, and get some pictures of different Seinfeld and Cobra Kai, and unfortunately, I don't know. Spaceballs is still in the rotation, or is that a football season thing? I don't know. We'll find out. Give him a follow. Download the app.
Oh no, Spaceballs always
year
in
round.
the rotation.
Okay, good.
Gunner's still on the roster.
Yeah. I'm just making sure. I didn't.
I'm making that man a gunner. Don't worry.
Okay. Just making sure if it was in season or not. But no, definitely check it out. Download the Full Press Coverage app. Available on the Apple and Google Play stores. It's free, and it's pretty awesome if I do say so myself. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and